The Mormon Church, a pillar of faith for millions, harbors a dark secret. Behind the facade of piety, a sinister truth festers. Men, empowered by their positions, abuse their families. Physical violence and mental manipulation are their weapons. These men operate with impunity, shielded by the Church's silence. Recent legal cases expose a pattern of abuse and cover-up. This essay delves into the horrifying reality of abuse within Mormon communities. We will examine the experiences of women and children trapped in a cycle of violence and fear. We will analyze high-profile cases, like that of Scott Owen, a Mormon therapist, who used his position to abuse vulnerable patients. Furthermore, we will dissect the institutional failures that allow such abuse to flourish. The legal battles being waged across the United States, particularly in California, highlight the systemic nature of this problem. These lawsuits reveal a disturbing pattern of abuse, often spanning decades and crossing state lines. Victims bravely step forward, demanding justice and accountability. This is not an attack on faith. It is a plea for justice, a demand for accountability, and a call to action. The Mormon Church must confront this evil within its ranks. Mormon doctrine emphasizes the husband's role as the head of the family. This power dynamic can create an environment where abuse thrives. Wives are often taught to submit to their husbands, even in the face of mistreatment. They are discouraged from speaking out, fearing social ostracization and spiritual condemnation. Physical abuse takes many forms: beatings, shovings, and other forms of violence. The scars, both physical and emotional, run deep. These women live in constant fear, walking on eggshells, dreading the next outburst of rage. Mental abuse is equally insidious. Husbands use their perceived authority to control and manipulate their wives. They employ verbal abuse, humiliation, and isolation to maintain their dominance. Victims often suffer in silence, their self-esteem shattered, their spirits broken. Children, often the most vulnerable members of any community, are not spared from the horrors of abuse within some Mormon homes. They witness their mothers being abused, their childhoods poisoned by fear and violence. They themselves become targets of physical and sexual abuse, their innocence stolen. The psychological damage inflicted on these children is immeasurable. They grow up in an environment where violence is normalized, where their voices are silenced. Many carry the trauma of abuse into adulthood, struggling with relationships, self-worth, and mental health. The Church's emphasis on family and the sanctity of the home can inadvertently create a barrier to reporting abuse. Children are taught to obey their parents, and this obedience can be manipulated by abusers. Fear of breaking up the family and bringing shame upon themselves and their loved ones prevents many children from speaking out. The case of Scott Owen, a high-ranking Mormon leader and therapist in Utah, sent shockwaves through the community. Owen, a man entrusted with the well-being of others, used his position to sexually abuse his patients. He preyed on vulnerable individuals seeking his help, manipulating them under the guise of therapy and spiritual guidance. Owen's case is not just the story of one man's depravity. It exposes a chilling truth about the Church's failure to protect its members. Allegations against Owen had circulated for years, yet the Church failed to take meaningful action. Instead of reporting him to the authorities, they chose to protect their reputation, allowing him to continue his reign of abuse. This case showcases the systemic problem within the Mormon Church. It's a culture of secrecy and a prioritization of image over the safety of its members. It is a stark reminder that abusers often hold positions of power and trust, using their influence to silence their victims. Section 5. California cries out. A wave of lawsuits. California has become a battleground in the fight against abuse within the Mormon Church. Hundreds of lawsuits have been filed in recent years, alleging widespread child sexual abuse by church leaders, and a systematic cover-up that stretches back decades. These lawsuits paint a disturbing picture of an institution that has repeatedly prioritized its reputation over the safety of its children. Allegations include church leaders ignoring or silencing reports of abuse, transferring accused abusers to different congregations, and even intimidating victims and their families into silence. The sheer volume of lawsuits, coupled with the horrific details contained within them, is impossible to ignore. They represent the voices of countless victims who have suffered in silence for far too long. These lawsuits are a testament to their courage and a demand for justice. Section 6, San Diego's Shame, Local Cases, National Outrage. The wave of lawsuits alleging abuse within the Mormon Church has reached San Diego County, sending shockwaves through the local community. Dozens of individuals have come forward alleging horrific abuse at the hands of Mormon leaders. These cases involve victims of all ages, including young children who were preyed upon by those entrusted with their care. One particularly disturbing case involves a 16-year-old girl who was allegedly abused by her bishop, a man in a position of significant authority within the local Mormon community. This case, like many others, highlights the power dynamics at play within the church and the vulnerability of young members. These San Diego cases are not isolated incidents. They are part of a larger pattern of abuse that has plagued the Mormon Church for decades. The bravery of these local victims in coming forward has helped to shine a light on this dark chapter in the Church's history. Section 7, the Church's Wall of Silence, Enabling Abuse, Protecting Abusers. The Mormon Church's response to the growing abuse scandal has been widely criticized as inadequate and self-serving. Instead of acknowledging the systemic nature of the problem and taking meaningful steps to protect its members, the Church has repeatedly prioritized its image and legal liability. One of the most egregious examples of this is the Church's helpline, which was ostensibly set up to assist victims of abuse. In reality, this hotline often served as a mechanism for silencing victims and protecting abusers. Reports of abuse made through the hotline were often routed to church lawyers, who prioritized minimizing legal liability over reporting abuse to law enforcement. The Church's culture of secrecy and its hierarchical structure have created an environment where abuse can thrive. Victims are often afraid to come forward, fearing retaliation from abusers who hold positions of power and influence. Those who do speak out are often met with disbelief, blame, and ostracization. Section 8, Breaking the Cycle, the Need for Public Outrage. The abuse crisis within the Mormon Church is not just a problem for Mormons to solve. It is a societal issue that demands public attention and outrage. For too long, this abuse has been swept under the rug, hidden from public scrutiny by the Church's power and influence. The brave survivors who have come forward deserve our support and our gratitude. They have broken the silence and exposed the truth, despite the immense personal cost. It is now up to the rest of us to amplify their voices and demand accountability. Public pressure is essential for change. By raising awareness, supporting survivors, and holding the Mormon Church accountable, we can help to break the cycle of abuse and create a safer environment for everyone. Section 9. Justice Delayed, Justice Denied, Holding the Mormon Church Accountable. Holding the Mormon Church accountable for the widespread abuse within its ranks is a complex and challenging task. The Church is a powerful institution with vast resources and a sophisticated legal team. They have a long history of silencing victims and protecting abusers, and they will undoubtedly fight tooth and nail to protect their reputation and their assets. However, the pursuit of justice is paramount. The survivors of abuse deserve their day in court. They deserve to have their voices heard and to see their abusers held accountable for their actions. The legal battles that are currently underway are a crucial step in this process. Beyond the courtroom, there are other ways to hold the Mormon Church accountable. Public pressure, media scrutiny, and the withdrawal of financial support can all send a powerful message. It is time for the Mormon Church to be held responsible for its actions and to prioritize the safety and well-being of its members over its reputation and its bottom line. Section 10, a call to action. Safeguarding the vulnerable, demanding change. The abuse crisis within the Mormon Church is a call to action for all of us. We cannot stand idly by while innocent lives are shattered by abuse. We must demand change and work to create a safer world for everyone. Educate yourself. Learn about the issue and the systemic factors that allow it to flourish. Share this information with others and help to raise awareness. Support survivors. Listen to and believe survivors of abuse. Offer them your support and encouragement. Connect them with resources and services that can help them heal. Demand accountability. Contact your elected officials and demand that they investigate the Mormon Church's handling of abuse allegations. Support organizations that are working to hold the church accountable and to protect children. Break the silence. If you or someone you know has been abused within the Mormon Church, please come forward. You are not alone. There are people who care about you and want to help. We can no longer tolerate a world where institutions like the Mormon Church prioritize their own interests over the safety and well-being of their members. It is time for a change. It is time for justice. It is time for healing.